Jason Walker, Walker Tea Review, where we are giving out the Oscars of tea. And tonight we're going to be looking at a tea. We're going to find out if it deserves praise or if it deserves blame. We've got a tea here that is from a company that you can find on eBay. eBay has, of course, we all know the deals that eBay offers. eBay also offers us a range of teas, probably outside of our regular exposure of teas that are coming from sources, people who are actually on the ground in places like China. So we're going to go ahead and get this one started. We're going to use our gaiwan, which is a bowl with a lid on it, and in this case it has a saucer as well. We've got our water that's been brought to a light boil, so it started to gurgle like we talked about, but has been allowed to cool for about 20-30 seconds now. And let's go ahead and get this tea going. This is a dark oolong tea, so we're going to be careful here. Spoon's not doing so well. There we go. That should give us a good amount. That's when if you were to flatten that out and press it out, that would be about a tea. It would cover the teaspoon there. And that looks like enough in the bottom of our gaiwan. Actually, I'm going to add just a pinch more, which is going to turn out to be about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leaves there. Set that aside. Set our tea over here next to St. George, and that's what we have over here. And here we go, adding our water, letting that swirl around, coat the leaves, adding enough water so that, not quite yet, I'm going to add just a drop more. There we go. Just enough to keep the lid, create a kind of a seal so the water will actually rise up above the rim of the lid as the heat builds up under there and does that. So let me set that, adjust that just a little bit. Set that over here. Actually, we got plenty of a nice seal developing right there already. And let's talk about this tea. This is from RJTeahouse, which, as I recall, is in Hong Kong. This is their DaHongPao, which means big red robe, basically translated. This is their Supreme. Okay, this is a Wu tea, which is from the Fujian, Fujian province. A 20-gram package is on sale for, or you will find it for $24.50. So that's a pretty high range of price compared with some of the other oolongs you may find out on the market, especially from U.S. tea vendors. This is actually a 2008 harvest. We know that also from the information from RJTeahouse. If you want to taste the tea with us, you want to be able to do a few things. You want to be able to look at the wet leaf, the dry leaf rather first, the wet leaf, and then the liquor. So we're going to be looking at those three aspects. You'll also be wanting to look ahead, find out what teas we're going to be tasting in the upcoming future. You may want to join in with a friend, purchase those teas, invest together on some equipment like a gaiwan, which I recommend for a lot of your Chinese style teas, tea kettle, other aspects that you may want to purchase or get for yourself, because tea is art. Tea is about the way you present it. Tea is about the way you taste it. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and start on the tasting process for this tea. Now, this one's getting those roasted notes. This one is a oolong that has been gone through a roasting process. That's the standard or a characteristic of this one. So it's getting notes the toasted elements that are almost like a honey roasted peanut. There is a bit of something kind of fruity. There's almost very faint. There's a bit of a pink or a grapefruit type note coming off of this as well. Very light though. It's in the background. When you look at this leaf, it is a dark, richer, oxidized looking leaf. It is a seal brown. Let's go ahead and put this on the spoon here. It's a seal brown. You've got some nice large size leaves, you know, 1.5 to 2 inches. You've got you know, kind of crinkled along the middle vein of the leaf, so it's crinkled lengthwise, I guess, along the leaf. You're actually getting some, like this one I just pulled out as well, you're getting leaf pairs here as well, connected by the, like a bit of the stem or branch, I should say. So that's what you have here in your dry leaf. I think we are ready to pour. And to pour, we're going to get our gaiwan, practice our pouring skills with a gaiwan. And let's have a look at this tea. That's a nice rich color coming off of that. Now what you see I'm doing is I'm just kind of stirring the water, agitating the water to see what the color of the tea at the bottom of the gaiwan looks like, because at the bottom where the leaves tend to sink, that is a darker, richer color liquor, while up at the top it does look thinner, and if you'll stir it and kind of agitate it, it will you know, even that out, just to get an appearance, just to get an impression of how this has steeped. Now I'm going to angle my lid over towards the lower part, over towards my glass, higher part over away from the glass. I'm going to put my index finger on that to hold it in place. I'll put my middle finger and thumb on the ring finger also a little bit there as well, and I'm going to pour just like that. And as I pour, as I elevate it more, of course I'm going to turn it towards me so that I can bend and pour and see what I'm doing more easily. And that takes care of that. Set that aside for just a few moments as we look at our wet leaf. Let's have a look at this, shall we? First we'll give it a good smell. Alright, so we are getting those warm toasted caramel type notes. It does feel like there's a lot of toasted heat on this one. At the same time, there's a bit of a kind of a zesty, tangy element to this, more subtle, but it's like a pomelo or a grapefruit type smell to it. Okay, now if you look at these leaves, you are seeing, for example here, you're seeing that they have not fully unfurled, they're not fully opened yet. Here's another one. Okay, this one is loose enough that it is going to open up, and you see you've got a pretty large shape of leaf. You've got a dull kind of olive drab easing over towards almost a brownish green there. Okay, leaves are, you know, more with this varietal. It's actually fairly tender leaf for this size and maturity of leaf in this particular type of leaf as well. What else do we have here? More of the same. I'm looking to see if there are any of those leaf pairs that we did note in the dry leaf. Not coming to the surface here at this point. So we did notice it in the dry leaf. We don't see it here, at least just in this teaspoon that we served up here. We'll go ahead and add just one more so that you'll be able to look at those dry, wet leaves as well. So set that aside. We're now able to move on to our liquor. Now with your liquor, you're already seeing a nice amber color. It's not as you know, red or brown as a lot of your black teas are. So this is more of a amber copper type color. Nice warm looking brightness to it, which looks nice. Let's go ahead and give this one a taste. We're going to slurp it, let the air react to it. Again, toasted notes coming off, caramel type notes coming off of the nose here. for that last little bit of aftertaste. Again, caramel, warm, toasty type notes coming off. Okay, ever so slightly in the aftertaste, you're getting a bit of a kind of a zest, a little bit of like a grapefruit, just a tinge of sourness to it, citrus type sourness. It's a nice smooth feel to it. I mean, it's not creamy. It's not heavily brothy. I'm trying to decide. This one could probably do, as far as this particular tasting, this would probably do with a, you know, oolongs in general, especially with the Gaiwan style. The common practice is to use a lot of leaf and steep for a shorter period. With what we did, we used about a teaspoon, and we try to be fairly consistent in using what will fit onto a actual teaspoon and placing that in. This particular one would be better suited, at least in my impression so far, it would be better suited with the more traditional Chinese style, more leaf, shorter steep time. So you fill it up. I mean, I've seen guys, the lid, you're having to pack those leaves down into the water, and so that you're getting a very short steep. You're packing those down in. You're waiting 30 seconds or less, and you're pouring that in. This one would get a lot more punch with that. This one's gentle as far as the body and the aftertaste, and with that stronger, greater volume of leaf and that flash steeping, you're being able to bring out more flavor without tipping over towards too bitter or too astringent. This one has no bitterness to speak of. Astringency is very low, but you need that extra leaf in there to really draw out that flavor. So it does have a sweet aftertaste. It does have that kind of caramel type sweetness to the aftertaste. The aromas and the tastes are just, the way it was done this time, just not that potent. So how do we score that? How do we explain that with a number? I would have to say something like, done properly, this one gets probably a 90, because it does have a complexity to it. It does have it would stand up well to some strong, good steepings, and it would likely bring several steepings with a nice consistent type character to it. This particular one, we could have brought out. I would like to have seen a little bit more characteristic, a little bit more stronger aftertaste, a little bit more zing. Actually, some of these can have a bit of a tangy zing to them in the taste and the aftertaste that just wasn't brought out in this particular fashion, this particular steeping style. So that's why we gave this one a 90. It does have plenty of potential when it's done properly. That's the key to experimenting with a tea and drawing out the very best aspect and nature of that tea. A lot of your professional tea tasters, they have to compare each one based on a standard practice. I understand that, but teas have personalities just like people, and to draw out the best of a person or a tea, you've got to put them in the right environment. And so that's what we have here. Again, this was from RJTeahouse. This was their DaHongPaoSupreme, and we looked at it here together at Walker Tea Review.